How does a registered nurse end up running a business and living in Bali? I'm gonna take this back to the day that everything literally changed in my life in December 2023, and I'm gonna run you through exactly what was going through my mind, how I coped with all of this change, and what it really meant for me. The universe literally has the craziest way of doing things. A lot of the time I feel like the universe holds up signs and we constantly block them. We're like, no, not accepting that, that's not gonna happen. And we just continue floating through our life and doing whatever it is that we set up to do. But I solely believe that when you have this intuition and you have this calling to do something different or become someone else in life, that you should just really listen to it. You should lean into it. You don't necessarily have to burn the boats and go all in. But I really think that people should lean into it a lot more, because I tend to believe that that is your true calling in life. When I started having these thoughts and feelings in my life, it really kind of happened for me in the year of 2023. Obviously, I went through a lot being a registered nurse during COVID, and there was a lot of things that happened. I guess it happens day to day in being a nurse or in any career for that matter, but speaking solely about like my personal journey, I just went through a lot of things in the year of 2023. And this was all professionally. This was, there was, nothing crazy happened, but for me, it impacted me a lot as an individual, and it changed a lot about who I was and the person that I was literally becoming. I saw death more than what I had expected to see, especially, like within a 24-hour period. And call me naive, call me crazy, because that's, part of being a nurse. But at the ripe age that I was of, I think, what was it? Freaking 25, 26. It's not something that I ultimately expected to be dealing with, from day to day, especially to the extent that I was. And there was one of my rotations that I will never forget as a registered nurse, and it literally altered the way that I looked at life. It changed who I was as an individual. It impacted my relationship, it impacted my family, and it impacted my friendships ultimately. And I started to become this woman where I didn't even know who I was. I was like, this is just like crazy. But I continued to push on because it's what I had chosen to do, right? I had gone to university. I had a diploma in nursing as well. I had studied for like 3.5 years, 4 years. I was a nurse for 7 years. I was working in the healthcare industry since like I was 21. I started as an assistant in nursing in aged care, and I freaking worked my way to the top. So I was telling myself, like, this is it. Like, this is what you chose. Like, you have to stick it out. Like, you have to ride it out till the end, right? And it wasn't until 2023 where things really started to change for me. And I obviously grew a lot as a person because I believe in health and fitness. I believe in it very differently. I look at health very differently to a lot of people, and obviously the healthcare industry, right? I do always believe that there is a place for medical care and all the types of things of like life-saving treatment, but I just see the world differently, and that's okay. I know that that's okay because that's me. That's who I am as an individual. But in 2023, there was a day I was working, on the ward that I was working in, and I saw like, I was a part of 5 people passing away in one 8-hour shift. And I remember calling Nathan at the time and just being like, what even is this? These were people who were my age. These were people who were younger than my parents, and they were parents. And I was just like, this is just so hectic for me. This is just like not what I want my reality to be. I was so depressed. I was emotionally disconnected. Some of my best friends, they went away to Europe for 2.5 months, and they were at my house waiting for me to come home from work. They were catching up. We were all meant to have dinner, and I just completely ignored them. And I was more worried about the fact that stuff wasn't done in my house compared to seeing my best friends who had been in Europe, who I hadn't seen for 2 months. And it was in that moment where Nathan was like, what are you doing? Like, why are you acting like this? Like, this isn't who you are. I started to realize that my career was like changing me and turning me into someone that I just wasn't supposed to be. And it wasn't even who I am. Like, I am this person who I just love people. I love being around people. I crave connection. I am attached to the people that I love, to my friends, to my family. And I was so disconnected. And I was like, I hated everything. I hated everyone and I hated everything. I even hated walking in to work. I was like, what the fuck am I doing? And the more that 2023 really unfolded, the more disconnected I came from my career. I really just hated being there, and I don't like that because it's my role as a nurse to serve and to look after people. And I started to feel like annoyed. I was like, I don't want to look after you. Like, what the hell? And I started to have remorse, and that's where I was like calling myself out on it. And I swore to myself I was never going to become a nurse that turned into like that cranky, shitty nurse. Like, and sorry if you're one of those people, but like I swore to myself that was never the person I was going to be. And when this kept happening, I kept going within, and I was like, started talking to people that I really trusted in my career, people who I had looked up to for a really long time. And I was like, this is like what's coming up for me. This is how I'm feeling. And they're like, Tegs, like, you've studied really hard and you've been here from the very beginning. Like, you've worked your way up and now you're just going through really severe burnout. And I was like, okay, it's burnout. I just need a break. Like, I haven't really had time off, you know, like being in any career, but in the nursing career, like you have to ask for time off and it always fucking gets locked out 6 months in advance, and like you're not taking holidays. And I was chomping through sick leave, and I was just like, yeah, okay, cool. I'm probably just really burnt out. Like, let's just roll with it. Until like fast forward to coming into the end of the year, you know, again, I was missing out on Christmas with my family. I was really upset. I was like, this has been my life for 7 years. I am constantly left out because of my career. I am constantly missing out. I constantly feel like I don't get to be with my partner. And I was like starting to get really upset by it. Again, guys, call me fucking naive, say, well, that's what you chose, that's what you signed up for, whatever. But that's not the life I wanted. And I'm allowed to say, like, that is not the life I wanted. I didn't sign up to live my life like that. In fact, I made a sole commitment to myself when I was growing up. My mum was a paramedic for 10 years. My dad was in the Navy. And unfortunately, my parents got divorced when I was really, really young. So the youngest years of my life, all I remember is complete disconnect. And my mum was always at work because she too was a shift worker. My dad was always away. He was always at sea because he was in the Navy. So I did not want to repeat what my parents did. Like, I committed to myself at like a young teenager. I would rather not be a mum and not get married if I was going to repeat that same life, because I hated it. Like, I thought it was the shittest thing in the world. Like, I hated it so much. And when I started to feel all these feelings within my own career, I was like, this is not it. This is not it for me. I felt like a failure. I felt embarrassed. I felt ashamed. I did not want to tell my mum. I was like freaking out. I was like, no, I cannot tell her. I have to lie. And yeah, like that is probably one of the worst things I could have done. But what I did one day, I just like went into my boss, I went into my mum's office, and I was like, hey, so yeah, like I quit, like I need to take a break, and I just quit. And she was like, you can't just quit. And I was like, no, like I quit. Like, my mental health is shit. I'm not a good nurse right now. I'm quitting. And I literally quit in that moment. And I went home to Nathan and I was like, so I just quit my job. He was like, what the fuck? Like, what the hell? Like, we're living in Kellyville. For those of you who don't know, that's Sydney, like really fucking expensive pricing. He was obviously full-time PT, he was making good money, but he was like, what the fuck? Like, how am I supposed to like support both of us? And I was like, I don't know, but like I quit. And I felt so freed. I was like, oh my God, like, what am I going to do now? Like, this is amazing. Life is pretty cool. I told my mom I was taking like an extended break. I was like, yeah, I just need a bit of a break. Like, I'm just really burnt out. And she was like all for it. This is the thing. I hated lying to my mom because if anyone was going to understand, it was going to be her being a paramedic for 10 years. She would have known what exactly was going on for me in my life, right? And yeah, I was like, I'm just going to take a break. And I was happy. You know, it was Christmas. I was celebrating with everyone. But also amongst all of this, Nathan had decided that he wanted to quit his PT career. And I was like, yeah, like, cool, like, whatever, like, what are we going to do? And we decided in that moment that we were actually either going to buy a property and I was just going to have like a fresh start at a new hospital, and he was going to just like work on building in the online space. So we were going to do that in Byron Bay, and we were getting all the things done, and something just happened. The universe just called us, and it was wild. But I believe in this stuff. I think pure alignment is the way that life literally goes, right? And we were seeing like a couple of people who were traveling to Bali and living in Bali and like being digital nomads and like doing all the cool stuff. And I was like, this is interesting. Like, if we don't go for, you know, buying property, and me going back to being a nurse, because I was starting to like get a lot of trauma again from going back and like letting Nath like do his thing in the online space, given it was going to take him time to rebuild and like, well, build something brand new, meant that I was going to have to work like a lot more hours. And, you know, of course, like I support my partner, I'm going to do anything to make his dream a reality. And I was happy to do it, but I was scared. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to go through what I went through all over again. But I was like, hey, if it's going to mean that you can build something and then we can lean into our dream life, then like, let's just do it. Until, yeah, we started like seeing all these people living it up in Bali, and obviously it's like really cheap and all the things. And then we just bought a one-way ticket to Bali. And I didn't tell my parents, I didn't tell my sister, I lied. And I was like, oh my God, how am I gonna tell them I just bought a one-way ticket overseas after I told them that I was just taking like a small break from being a nurse? Like, what the fuck have I just done? And in that moment, we were petrified. Like, I still remember this moment vividly, and I cannot wait to tell my children that this is what I did. But we had like a stand-up desk, and we pressed buy on the tickets, and as we pressed buy, like we hid under the table. I was like, no, like this is not happening. And like boom, it was done, it was all over. And we had like, I think it was 8 weeks to pack our whole house up, Nathan's whole PT studio, and move. And we were moving overseas, and we have a little Frenchie, little Looney, and we obviously had to like decide what the hell we were doing with her. And I remember telling my mum, be like, yeah, mum, so not only am I taking a break, but I'm also going to live overseas for 6 years. And she was like, what do you mean? And I was like, yeah, like, it's just because I'm burnt out. Again, like I continued to lie because I was too afraid to own my truth. And, you know, I've obviously developed a lot as a person in 17 months. Like, I am so different to who I was 17 months ago. And 17 months ago was probably like one of the darkest times in my life. But I now can see that I put a lot more pressure on myself because I was lying to my family about what I was doing. But I was also scared, and I was so fearful of the judgment that I was going to get from them just because they wouldn't understand. And if you're watching this and like you're scared of like taking steps and like leaning into taking action, and it's got to do with judgment of other people, I can understand, because unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, because it's not their fault, but you know, our parents' generation and our grandparents and our great-grandparents, they don't know the digital world like we do. Like, the digital world is like, it's all everyone talks about now, right? And I was so fearful because I just knew that they weren't going to understand. And yeah, like in that moment, I wish I didn't do the things that I did, but ultimately it's led me to the person that I am today. And I'm proud and I'm grateful, and I don't hide it. I'm always so honest. I'm always so honest with my clients. I always tell them, like, you're sabotaging something because you're holding back from telling someone something. And I talk about this all the time, like especially with CEO Foundations, right? When you're a new entrepreneur, a lot of the times what you're avoiding will always show up in your business, and it's always what you're avoiding in your personal life. And I solely believe that. And I tell like the women and the men, I'm like, if you guys just acknowledge whatever it is that you're avoiding and be honest about it, your business will literally go to the next level. And when they do, they genuinely take the next step and they become the next version of who it is that they need to be. Anyway, going back to what I was saying. So when we came to Bali, and I was like, yeah, I was terrified, guys. Like, I was fucking petrified. Being a nurse, there's a process and there's a system for everything. And, you know, I had my routines down packed. I knew what I was doing. Everything had a place. I had a stable income. Was the income like fulfilling? Fuck no. But it was stable and it was consistent, right? And yeah, it was just crazy. Like, stepping into this new world online with my partner. I was just working in the back end of his business, like helping with business systems and structure and client fulfillment. But I was like, wow, like this is amazing. And it was so crazy because we ended up going back to Australia in September last year, so 12 months ago, full circle moment. 12 months ago, we went back to Australia for my beautiful sister-in-law's wedding, and we got there and I was so depressed again. I was like, what are we doing here? Like, it's wild. Even just like like, I'm just gonna say it, but like even just like family drama, I was like, this is wild. Like I lived in like a bubble where none of this stuff existed, and it was just me forever working on myself, and Nathan and I being together every second of the day. I mean, we've been inseparable from the day that we met, but like doing every little thing together and like growing our life together. And when I went back to Australia, I felt like I took 20 steps back, and I was back in that trap. And then the biggest thing that kept coming up for me though, and this is where I had to really face it head on, was the fact that I buried myself so far deep into this lie of me taking a break from being a nurse, where I had already decided I was no longer going to be a nurse, and that I was going to 100% commit to working as an entrepreneur to whatever capacity. At that moment, I didn't know what it was, but that's what I had actually committed to. And I actually just had to face the fact I had to tell my family the truth, and I had to stop avoiding it. And has it sabotaged some of my relationships with my family? Yeah, it has, 100%. It's the true reality. And do I accept the fact that it's my fault? 150%. But at the end of the day, I also know that it's also just because some of my family just don't understand what I'm doing. And to be honest, they don't want to understand, and that's okay. Like, I let them, it's totally fine. It's so foreign to them. I don't love them any less. I just let it go. And the moral of why I'm sharing all of this with you guys is because every single person, they start somewhere. Their journey begins from something, and it just takes a lot of growth and development, and you know, sitting with yourself in these tough times and just accepting the fact that, number one, not everyone's going to agree with what you do in life. Number two, you're not always going to make the best decisions, but as long as you're following your intuition and leaning into yourself, that's all that you can honestly do. And I, urge you all just to love yourself first, prioritize yourself first, do what you want to do first. Because this is truly like your one and only life, and you're only as young as what you are today, right now, and you're never going to be this young in your life ever again, and you're never going to have the opportunities that you have right now ever again. And once I really realized that, and I went through a lot of the things that I went through 17 months ago, and I still, work on myself every single day, and I can proudly sit here and say I am so much better than what I used to be. I always, just sit there, take full ownership of what I need to, and I continue to move forward. But the other thing is, like, don't let the fear, or don't let the judgment, or don't let the words of other people hold you back. Let them have their opinion, let them have their thoughts, let them have their feelings, because they are valid to them, but they don't have to rule you, because you will always be the most important person in your life. And if you're not fulfilling and doing the things that you want to do, you're not going to live the life that you ultimately want. I can confidently say now that, like, I am so excited to be, the coach and mentor that I am. I love mentoring people. It literally lights me up. I love helping people with business. It makes me feel so fulfilled. I love the fact that I am becoming a wife in 5 months. It is something that I never thought I was going to be able to get to, but the fact that I've done all the things that I have, it has led me to being in aligned to start this new chapter in my life. And whatever comes after that, I'm so open and ready for. So, I hope that me going deep and like sharing insights into my life and into my story really help you find the calling for what it is that you're looking for in your life, and allows you to really step in and follow your own intuition. But also, like, if you want to know more, like, I want to talk to you, and I am so passionate about just getting to know people and being some type of value in their life to whatever capacity I can be. So please DM me on Instagram. I will just leave everything below. I want to chat to you. I want to hear what it is that you're going through. I want to provide you value. I want to edge you closer to becoming, the woman that you want to become and living the life that you completely desire.